and gentlemen, welcome back to Unfiltered. I'm Mike Ginn. This week we got Fighters First athlete coming on board, Cody Jerome. You know, he just won the Muay Thai World Cup, so we'll talk about that. He's one championship bound, so that's exciting stuff. We'll talk about a little bit of his background and some of the stuff he's doing out there in Western Canada and Alberta. But before we get to that, go ahead and check out fightersfirst.shop. Get all the officially licensed collections for some of the upcoming fighters that we have, including Cody, his teammate Kate, and all that good stuff. Let our apparel be a part of your story. Cody, thanks for taking the time, man. How you feeling?
Well, thanks for having me on, Mike. Feeling good.
Last time we had Tim talk to you on our kickboxing show. Got all the background. So if anybody's looking to see what your favorite food is and what you like to do when you're in Calgary, go ahead and check out that interview with Tim. But we're going to look a little bit forward. Recently, Cody just went through Muay Thai World Cup's Road to One. He will be signing a contract and going to one championship later this year. We'll talk about that. Cody's also, quote unquote, one of the faces of Muay Thai for Canada. Of course, his cat wants to make a cameo.
Yeah, here's the cat.
We're all pet lovers, but I think the cat just stole the whole show. Cody, last time we talked to you, Tim got into a lot of your past, but you were in the middle of the tournament. Now you're the champion of the lightweight division for the Road to One. How's that feel? How'd that fight turn out for you? And what were your feelings immediately after knowing you're about to be a one championship fighter?
You know what, Mike? It was truly a dream come true. The fight went very well. My team and myself were completely zoned in going in. And, the fight, it was just, it was complete domination, to be honest. I finished it in the first round. And, after I got that finish, like I said, it was just a dream come true. It was truly an amazing feeling, knowing that, I secured that contract to one championship, the biggest martial arts organization in the world right now. It's where I've always wanted to be, Mike. It's always been my dream to fight in an organization like one, right? And I'm ready. And I'm super excited for 2024 here.
Yeah, let's talk about your road to one. Of course, you had some tough fights. You had some easy fights. I guess no fight is really an easy fight, but the final, like you said, you did run through, get a quick first round finish. There was a tough fight with Green where I heard you say before, he hit you in your equilibrium, kind of threw you completely off, but you still bounced back, got that finish. After that, you had to go through Wozniak, who, it's always tough fighting a guy who you've already fought, right? Because he knows what you do, you know what he does. When that decision was getting read, how confident were you that you won that fight?
I was very confident, Mike, in that decision. I just thought I landed more shots, right? I had more volume. Right. I thought I won every round. Again, like Quinn, he's a very, very tough fighter. He came out strong. Right. I just thought I landed more more volume. My range was better. But again, Quinn was tough. I was definitely confident, Mike, that I grabbed that decision at the end.
Yeah. I was watching that fight and I was, I was nervous for you. Maybe if you weren't nervous, but I was nervous for you with that decision because Quinn definitely fought a lot tougher than he did the first time you two fought. And he wanted the contract too, right? Everybody wants that chance at 100,000 and a contract with one. In the finals, you got Kachego, went through him, got him in the corner, finished him off. What is the process now? So I was always curious, as not just as somebody who works with you with Fighters First, but now that you win a tournament like that. Is it, $100,000 for a year? Or is it $100,000 for a set of fights? How does that kind of work?
So, you know what, Mike, to be honest, I have not seen the contract yet. It is supposed to be coming right away. But it's 5 fights with one championship. As far as the time frame, I'm not sure. And as far as the money, I'm not sure. I believe it is spread out over the 5 fights.
Yeah.
It's guaranteed $100,000, right? I think there's win bonuses involved, and plus, knockout bonuses and fight of the night bonuses and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Chicho
yeah,
is always good about taking care of his fighters when they perform. So
100%, yeah. But yeah, that's as much as I know right now, Mike. Again, the contract's going to be here right away, so I'll know soon.
yeah,
More details.
Well, we're excited to definitely get involved with that and get you over there and fighting. I know you said off air that probably Colorado, but are there talks to get you over into Asia and do some of those fightings? And I know you've also talked about doing Muay Thai and kickboxing. What do you think will be more of your primary goal, or do you even care?
So I don't really care which one it is. I love both sports, Muay Thai and kickboxing. As of late, of course, I've been fighting Muay Thai, so it'd be nice to get a few kickboxing fights in. But I want to fight in both sports, Mike. I want to take over both sports. My goal is to be a double champ, a champ in Muay Thai and kickboxing. That is definitely my goal. And yeah, I'd like to fight in North America. I like to fight on that Colorado show in September, and I believe it's Atlanta in November. I'd like to get on both those shows, but that's a long time away. I want to fight before then, so I'm hoping I get the call over to somewhere in Asia or wherever. It doesn't matter. But I know they have two shows confirmed in North America this year, September and November. But yeah, I'd like to fight before September.
Are you free to fight independently before you sign that contract, or are you already pretty much locked into whatever one wants to do?
So I'm locked in right now. But I am able to fight on Muay Thai World Cup in between my one fights, if I want, if I so choose.
Okay. Which I'm sure, with your relationship with the Karen and everybody that runs that great promotion, probably a good chance for you to stay active while you're waiting for that call. Which is why I kind of asked that question, because you do have that home right there with some fantastic fighters that can keep you active. So that's definitely, and of course you are also the WBC Canadian champion, so that would be a chance for you to kind of defend that belt. When you go to one, does that championship go vacant?
That has not been discussed yet, Mike. I'm not too sure what's going to happen with that.
Because one kind of has their own sanctioning body. They don't really go through WBC, so.
No, they have their own rankings and stuff. Yeah. For myself, like my thoughts on it, I've defended my Canadian title multiple times now. I'm kind of done with it. I want to move on now. I want to move on to, if I'm on the sidelines with one, if I'm not active, of course, like I want to fight in one as much as possible, right? That's where I want to fight.
Yeah.
But if I'm sidelined for a bit and I'm inactive, I'd like to fight for a WBC North American title or a WBC international title or a world title eventually, right? Those are the fights that really interest me. As far as defending my Canadian title again, I'd do it, but it really doesn't interest me that much. I fought everyone in Canada now. I've beat everyone, Mike. There's really no one left to fight now, right? And I'm not being cocky, Mike. That's just the way it is, right? Like,
records are records, right? Like, yeah, their own record. You have won those fights, and when you talk about your fighting style, and of course, you work with Progressive Fighting Academy, Brad Wall, very instrumental in building you up to the fighter you are today. I know you take a lot of pride, and you talk about Brad a lot. You talk about your team a lot. Connor Deary, another guy who helped develop you as well, who we helped bring you on board when we were first talking about with Fighters First and everything. That fight team behind you has built you up. Your teammate Kate Clements, who we talk about a lot as well, who's also WBC Canadian champion in the bantamweight division for the ladies. In first fight too, right? How proud are you of her development coming along so quickly?
You know what? She has progressed crazily in the last couple of years, Mike. Like you said, like how crazy is that? Becoming the WBC champ in your pro debut. Like, it's pretty impressive. It really is. I pumped.
And not just that, she's also training with UFC fighters like Jasmine Jazz DeVicious, and she's really growing fast.
She is. She's coming on the scene rapidly right now. I think her next couple of fights are going to be amazing. She's going to put on some performances here, and she's gonna be on big organizations like One, very soon too. I truly believe that. I pump Kate's tires a lot, but she truly deserves it. Let me tell you. I train with her every day,
I'm gonna have to remember that saying. I pump her tires. I have to remember that saying. That, ladies and gentlemen, that's a Canadian thing right there. But that is an awesome saying. I'm gonna have to remember that one. Speak to me a little bit about what Progressive Fighting Academy and Brad Wall and all that has brought to the table for you, and developed you from a young fight, kind of a raw fighter in this sport, to very quickly becoming one of the best.
Mike, I would not be where I am today without the team at Progressive Fighting Academy, without Brad, without Connor. Like I honestly, I wouldn't be here right now. Like, I was so fortunate to walk into Progressive Fighting Academy, and that was the first gym I ever trained at. Like, I'm so lucky, honestly, to have that gym and to have Brad, to have Connor in my hometown. Like, so I'm so fortunate. I can't say that enough. And I would not be where I am today without them. Brad took me under his wing right away. I've been with him for 11 years now. Well, 11 years now. Same with Connor. And, he's worked with me the whole time. He took me under his wing. He's the reason. Him and Connor are the reason why I'm here today. They really are. They both train with me morning, night, 6 days a week. It's they put in just as much work as myself, Mike. They really do. Like, Brad holds pads for me, Connor holds pads for me. They both, they take beat. Like they it's hard holding pads, right? It really is. Like, it's an art in itself. It really is. And Brad in fight camp, he's holding pads for me 5-6 days a week, every morning. Helping me, working with me, developing a game plan, right? It's amazing that I walked in to Progressive Fighting Academy my first time going to a gym. And you know what? I started there, and I'm going to end there. I'm going to end with them.
Yeah, pad work is the unsung heroes of any martial arts training, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA. Pad work is the hardest, not just because you're trying to ghost the opponent that's coming, right? Like, give them some of those looks. You also have to take some of your best kicks and stuff because you don't want to half-ass anything, right? It's unsung hero. So, question about that though. So, walk me back real quick. I know we weren't going to really rehash a lot of old stuff, but first day walking into that gym, what were your first thoughts? What was that experience like the first day you walked into Progressive Fighting Academy?
So actually, my cousin brought me there. He knew Brad. Brad was training some of the hockey players, and my cousin played hockey. So did I as well. But my cousin, Devin, his name is.
Oh, no, stop it! A Canadian person playing hockey? What?
Yeah, yeah, as if, right? So he brought me there. So he knew Brad, and I think I said this in Tim's podcast, Mike, but I had no intention of becoming a fighter. I just quit hockey. I just wanted something to stay in shape, really, right? So, my first thoughts walking in, I walked in and I seen everyone hitting pads and stuff. I'm like, whoa, like these guys are savages. Like, this is crazy. Like, especially when you haven't seen anything like that before, right? Like, I didn't even really know what kickboxing and Muay Thai were before that, right? So when I walked in, I was blown away. A little intimidated, honestly, like seeing how good everyone was, and they could truly mess me up if they wanted to, right? Like, I didn't know anything about fighting. I thought I was a tough guy, right? Being a hockey player, right? Most hockey players think they're pretty tough, right? I had a little bit of an ego, but that got shut down pretty quick. Training at PFA.
So let's get back to one. Let's talk about one, because one thing I was curious about with you is so you just won the Muay Thai World Cup lightweight division, right?
Yes.
One does their weight division slightly different, especially with mixed martial arts. There's just like a weight up difference in their titles. Officially, the highest ranking weight class they have is featherweight for kickboxing and Muay Thai. Have they talked to you about what division you're going to kind of be in, or are they kind of creating more like lightweight divisions and other things going forward?
So I believe their 155-pound division is featherweight.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fighting in that division, Mike.
So you're going to be going against the Alizovs, the Senechais, the Super Bonds, all those crazy names, right?
Yeah. It's definitely the most stacked division in one right now, I would say. Like the 155-pound division is truly stacked. But you know what, Mike? I'm ready. I'm ready for all of it. I'm super excited.
I know you don't. I know you're not really one to call people out, but some of the names I just mentioned, it's right there in Muay Thai, right? Senechai, Super Bond, Senechai, those are the top three right there.
Yeah.
Out of those names, any other names in that division in one, who are you really trying to match up with to see how you stand against some of these top fighters in the world?
Honestly, Mike, I don't really care who I fight. Really, it doesn't matter. I'm just planning to make a statement, right? In my debut, in all my fights, frankly, but in my debut, in my one debut, I really, really want to make a statement, right? I want to show that Canada has top talent Muay Thai, right? I really want to prove my name right away, right? I want to show everyone what I'm about, and I'm coming to make a statement. I really am. As far as names, I don't really care, Mike. But I like, it'd be very cool to fight some of these guys that I watched growing up. Guys like Sedachai, guys like Murat Grigorian, right? Like these are names that I watched as I was progressing in the sport, right? Guys that I still watch, guys that I still look up to those guys, right? But so like fighting, my idols, that'd be very cool.
Yeah, when you look at the way one does things, especially between the different disciplines, right? Because they're very fluid on a lot of their cards. You'll see MMA, you'll see kickboxing, you'll see Muay Thai, you'll even see grappling. They do a lot, and they really are a mixed martial arts promotion. When it comes to that, you kind of fit right in perfectly doing kickboxing and Muay Thai. I also know Progressive Fighting Academy also teaches jiu-jitsu and some other things. So I'm sure you've also gotten your hands dirty with other disciplines as well. Is your long-term goal just to kind of stay in the striking realm, or are you ever thinking about crossing over and doing like, Alex Pereira and Cedric Doumbé and all these other fighters who lately have switched over to MMA?
Right now, Mike, I have no intention of switching over to MMA. I love kickboxing and Muay Thai. I'm a purist, right? I want to be amazing at one thing, really, right? I've never been a huge fan of the sport of MMA. I can appreciate it for sure, right? But as far as doing it, I'm not a huge fan. I did dabble with it when I first started. I don't know if you know this, but I did have 3 amateur MMA fights. And I actually got a submission once. I got a rear naked choke.
Something to tell the grandkids about.
Yeah. But I just realized it wasn't for me. Like it's a completely different sport. And I just didn't enjoy the training aspect of it. Like I didn't enjoy the grappling. I really had to force myself to go, right? I just was like, this isn't for me. I like striking. I love striking. So, why am I doing this if I don't enjoy it, right? I'm never going to be the best at it, right? If I'm not liking it, right? So I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to stick to what I truly love.
One thing I appreciate about your fighting style is that you are so straightforward. You are 100% offense 100% of the time. Now, I'm not saying you don't defend yourself. Of course you do, but your goal is to push forward, right? Funny enough, I was looking back at some of your older fights, and one fight that really kind of made me laugh a little bit was the Chester Flores fight, because Chester was talking way too much before the fight about not really caring who you are, and he was just going to do what he was going to do. And then you basically went through him multiple times. He kept getting up, more, props to him. He kept getting up, but you just kept coming, straight forward kicks, straight punches. Talk to me about your style a little bit. When you're in that cage or ring, A, do you have a preference which one it is? But B, because I know a lot of fighters are more comfortable in one environment or another, and going into one, you are going to be in that cage again. Is that something you're comfortable with? And B, does it really matter who your opponent is, or are you always just going to be that straightforward machine?
So as far as my style goes, Mike, I think I'm very adaptive. Most people know me as a straightforward pressure fighter, right? I break guys down. I break their will, right? Yes, I do that well. But also
Your endurance is crazy.
My endurance is good. Yes, I can fight moving backwards as well, though, right? Depending on my opponent, depending on their style too. I like to dictate where the fight is going to go, right? Like if I want to press forward, I'm going to press forward. If I want to fight moving backwards and be a little bit more elusive, that's what I'm going to do, right? Against the guy like Quinn, for instance, I was a little bit more elusive in that fight. I didn't press forward as much. There was moments where I did, for sure, right? I definitely chose those moments wisely, because Quinn's tough, right? I had to be careful, right? So I was definitely a little bit more elusive in that fight. But yeah, I'm adaptive, Mike. I can fight on angles. I can fight moving backwards, and I can fight moving forwards, as everyone knows, right? And I want to show that even more, right? Like, I don't really get, as far as my defense goes too, Mike, I don't really get hit that often, honestly. Like in my pro career, I had one fight where I took damage due to elbows, and that was it. That was it, pretty much, right? I haven't really taken that much damage, and that quarterfinal too against Tyson Green, he caught me. That was my first time fighting Muay Thai in the small gloves, right? So my guard wasn't the same, wasn't quite used to it yet, and that shot snuck through and knocked my equilibrium off. I spoke with Tim about that in his podcast. But yeah, I'm adaptive. I can fight moving forwards, backwards, angles. Yeah, and I just want to keep progressing my style that way, right? Like, because I think a lot of guys are just one trick ponies, right? Like they either fight moving backwards or forwards or whatever, right? I want to be able to do it all, Mike. I really want to be able to do it.
How's your comfort level compared to the ring and the cage?
I like both. I fought in both. I fought kickboxing and Muay Thai in the cage as well, multiple times. I do prefer the ring a little bit more. Reason being, I like the square. I like how you can trap people in the corner, right, and cut off those angles. Whereas in a cage, it's a little bit more circular, right? Guys can move, right? So if I'm pressuring someone, they can move around a little bit more, right? Whereas in a ring, I can trap them in that corner, right? I can cut off those angles and I keep them there, right?
I would also think, from a defensive point of view, the ring you can kind of bounce off the ropes a little bit, lean back on the ropes. That cage, there's no give. It is right there, and so from a defensive point of view, you can also kind of pin them against the cage, whereas the ropes, they can kind of sometimes bend back a little bit, try to avoid stuff. So it definitely is a different environment for both. And of course, you have to be more comfortable with the cage now, because going forward, that is your new home. That is your new home with one championship. They are in that cage, and they do a lot of great things. The difference between Muay Thai and kickboxing, for people at home, what is the main difference between you, not just how you fight with the different disciplines, but how you train for the different disciplines? Because they do seem very similar, but there are differences.
There are differences. So kickboxing, no elbows, right? What like Muay Thai is called the art of 8 limbs. So it's punches, kicks, knees, and elbows. I'll speak about K1 rules. All right, K1 kickboxing rules, which one does, right? So it's punches, knees, and kicks, no elbows. And you can come in and throw like one knee in the clinch and the ref will break it, right? Whereas in Muay Thai, they'll let you work in the clinch for a while, right? So that's the difference between the two. And also Muay Thai, they allow the sweeps, right? The throws. As far as like the training differences, Muay Thai, you can't really sit in the pocket as much and throw, right? Because there's a threat of the elbows, right? And as you know, Mike, elbows are vicious, right? They are really vicious. It doesn't take much to cut someone with an elbow, right? So you got to be careful with that. And, one cut, doctor stops, that's it, right? So you got to be careful of that. So yeah, I think that's the main difference in the training, right? Of course, I'm not practicing elbows when I'm training for a kickboxing fight, right? But I can definitely sit in the pocket a little bit more and throw my hands in a K1 kickboxing fight, right? Which I really like, right? I really like, but also too, I love throwing those elbows as well.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why PFL and MMA doesn't allow elbows, is because they have the season, right? And if you get cut up with an elbow, then you're not going to be available in 6 weeks to fight again, right? So it's another reason why they don't do elbows either. when you talk about those differences, and obviously the glove size, right? How much does the glove size pay? You already said you got like kind of knocked a little bit loopy the first time you fought Muay Thai with Tyson Green, because the glove difference and the little bit more powerful punches kind of coming with the lighter gloves, smaller gloves. How much does the glove difference pay? What's the right word? Make it any difference?
It's a big difference. It changes the game completely. The 4-ounce gloves. Especially with the defense, right? With the 10-ounce or 8-ounce boxing glove, you can utilize that shell a little bit more, right? Whereas with the 4-ounce gloves, there's not as much coverage there, right? So you can't utilize the shell as much. You can still utilize it for sure, and I have, but you can't have your hands closed like this, right? Otherwise, you're going to hit yourself with your knuckles, right? On every shot. Instead, you'll have your fingers exposed if you're going to utilize that shell for the defense, right? So you can still utilize the shell, but it's a little bit different. The range is a little bit different too, right? Because you can't utilize that shell as much, right? So you can't sit in the pocket as much. The range is a little bit further. Those shots definitely sting a little bit more with the 4-ouncers. It is a difference, and it does change the game completely. And like with kicks too, right? You only have one. If you're only blocking with one hand here, and a head kick comes, it's a little bit of padding there, but not much, right? So you got to get both hands over, right? You got to do everything a little bit more.
It's still going to knock you out.
Yeah, for sure, right? You're still going to take that damage, right? So.
Especially when the kick wraps around the back of the head and it's bouncing off your glove. Yeah, it's not going to protect you too much. A lot of fighters you find, especially with like MMA or Muay Thai, they use almost their entire arm to block the kicks nowadays, which also can lead to a broken arm. So best thing to do is get out of the way, right?
Best thing to do is get out of the way. 100%. You're absolutely correct on that. If I'm going to block with block the roundhouse kick with my forearms, I want to use both, right? I want to take that kick off both forearms, right?
Is that why you kind of utilize that front kick so much? Is because you can't really block that, right? Like you're just coming straight at somebody. Is that why that's one of your bigger weapons?
I like the front kick because it helps me get my range, right? It helps me set up my punches too, right? And it helps me keep them at bay, right? It keeps them at the range I want them to be, right? And it hurts too, right? You're getting toes right in the ribs, right? It hurts. It's not a great feeling, right? It kind of knocks the wind out of them a lot of the time, right? So that's why I utilize the front kick a lot.
Is your goal? So I know a lot of people throw this kick for different reasons, right? I have a martial arts background too. I understand this. Is your goal the ribs or is your goal the liver?
Both. Honestly, both.
Just depending at the angle.
Depending on the angle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I always think, obviously, most people famously think of Anderson Silva, that front kick that, which he knocked out Vitor. And otherwise, you got people like Lyoto Machida that uses it a lot. It's more of a karate move almost than a kickboxing move when it comes to it. And you see more fighters using it now because, like you said, it creates that range, creates that distance. And I think you use that it's got to be one of your top weapons because I can always tell when you're getting ready to flurry on somebody because you use that to kind of set it up. And then after that, it's, bombs away. And usually it's pretty effective in almost every fight I've seen you fight. I don't think there's anybody that's really been able to stop it. Is there a way you specifically, I'm not trying to give away all your secrets, but is there a way with your footwork and everything that you use kind of to set it up like ahead of time? Or is it just when you see the opening, you kind of go for it?
When I see the opening, Mike, especially when someone's coming in, right, for a flurry, right, they have, they got bad intentions, right? They got a combination they're going to throw and it stops them, right in their tracks, right? And even if it doesn't hurt them, Mike, it kind of breaks their will a little bit. It's like, shit, like, how do I get inside, right? How do I get into range, right, to throw, right?
They have to reset themselves, yeah.
They got to reset themselves, right? And if it keeps happening throughout the round, throughout the fight, right, it breaks them mentally, right? So yeah, I do really enjoy using that front kick, Mike.
Who's been your toughest opponent so far? Has it been Quinn? Has it been somebody else? Who do you think has been the one guy that really kind of stands up to you the most, that's kind of brought the best out of you?
Probably Quinn. Like, yeah. He's probably been I got all my opponents have been tough. They've all been top level in my pro career. But Quinn has definitely stood out the most, where I couldn't bully him as much, right? Like I did do what I wanted with him, right? I did control the fight, right? But there was always that threat of danger, right? He's a power puncher, especially in those 4-ounce gloves, right? That fight before that, his quarterfinal, he knocked out Mike Doherty with that overhand right? One punch, done, right? So he was very confident going into the semifinal with me, right? He thought, I'm going to land that right hand, it's going to be over, right? And we knew that going in, right? That's what he was going to be looking for, and what do you know? He was looking for that, right? So having that threat there, he didn't land that overhand right flush at all, and I made sure that didn't happen by keeping my range, right? My range was really, really good in that fight and going into that fight, right? We worked on my range a lot. But yeah, probably Quinn. Probably Quinn.
Do you think your story with him is done, or do you think that he might also one day be following you in your footsteps to one? Because obviously Canadian Muay Thai is very up and coming right now, but you fought your toughest opponent in the semifinals, not the finals. Is he another guy that you could see eventually kind of making his way there as well?
Yeah, I could see him getting there eventually, for sure. If he did get there, Mike, if he did get to one, yeah, if I had to fight him again, I don't really want to fight him again, honestly, Mike. I like the guy. I've started training with him a little bit. We're friends.
Yeah,
we're friends now, right? I have no intention of fighting Quinn again, really.
Isn't that crazy how that works in the fight game? Some of your toughest opponents sometimes become your best friends in this game. It's crazy.
Yeah. Even after the first, there's been nothing but respect between us, Mike, throughout, right? Even after our first fight, we're friends, right? We shook hands after and stuff. And yeah, I didn't in that tournament, I was cheering for him, honestly. When he won, in his quarterfinal, I was I hope he gets it, right? And he did, but unfortunately, I had to fight him again, right? And it's just the way it was, right? Yeah, I like Quinn. Nothing but respect for him and his team.
I'm gonna let you get out of here. I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. Of course, we're looking forward to your debut in one. We could talk again when that comes, obviously. But before I get out of here, I do want to ask you a couple last questions. For one, obviously, you talked about Quinn. You talked about the state of Canadian Muay Thai and trying to take that platform to the next level, not just for yourself, but for your whole country, right? For you basically have a country on your back now when it comes to that. Talk to me a little bit about the scene of Canadian Muay Thai and what you kind of expect from that going forward now with this road to one that Muay Thai World Cup's been doing, not just for yourself, but for other fighters, other weight divisions. Talk to me about the work that Kieran's doing with Muay Thai World Cup and really how you see the Canadian Muay Thai scene developing.
So I think, Mike, talent in Canada has been there for a long time. It really has, right? We've always had talented fighters coming out of this country. The issue was not having a platform to showcase the talent, right? And 2019, when Kieran first brought Muay Thai World Cup to Canada, that was the start of something huge, right? The first Muay Thai World Cup, I think there was 2,500 to 3,000 fans in attendance. I fought on the show. I fought in a 4-man tournament and I won the Sutina Cup. And that kind of, that put me on the scene that put me on the pro scene as far as Muay Thai goes in Muay Thai. Yeah, that was a huge moment for Muay Thai in Canada. Kieran has played a huge role in the growth of Muay Thai and kickboxing in Canada. I can't give him enough credit, honestly. he deserves all the credit in the world. He really does. And from there, it's just really taken off, right? It's gave athletes something to strive for now, right? There's a platform, and there's an end goal now, right? Kieran has brought the WBC into Canada, right? There's that. Everyone knows the green belt, right? Everyone wants the green belt, whether it's boxing or Muay Thai, right? So that's been huge, and he brought a ranking system in, right? So everyone knows who's who in Canada now. And then he brought the road to one, right? And that provided a path to actually get a career in this sport, right? To actually make a living at this sport now, right? Where that just wasn't there before, right? Like there was, like I said, there was talent here in Canada, but there wasn't really a path to get there. There wasn't a platform to perform on. So, huge props to Kieran for providing that for us Canadian fighters. And Mike, like in the past little while here, I've seen, like ever since that first show, I've seen huge growth in Canada. And now I'm so excited. Like a couple of years from now, I can't even imagine where it's going to be at, honestly. Like it's growing rapidly now. And again, huge props to Kieran and the team at Muay Thai World Cup.
You and the other finalists that are, because there were two other finalists that got contracts, or was just one other finalist?
There's three in total. So it was Jake Peacock, Taylor McClatchy, and myself.
Yeah, with you guys kicking the door open, all puns intended, kicking that door open. I can only imagine if you guys, all three of you go on to one, all three have success in your different divisions. It's definitely going to do a lot for the country as far as getting new kids interested in the sport, getting more people interested in the sport. You have some great podcasts that have popped up in your backyard. You talk to MMA Journal quite a bit. Shout out podcast. A couple shameless plugs for you guys because I think they do great work. They're doing a lot to help cover the sport, put more exposure to the sport. You have the more you go into one, they're going to obviously talk about your Canadian background, talk about everything going on. So I think it's great for the sport to grow in different countries. You look at, I'm a big MMA fan and guys, covering that as my primary coverage sport with Art of MMA and everything. And you see the way that's grown over the years, not just in Japan, but, with one championship in Asia. You're down in Australia with some of those great fighters. They're popping up in, Bahrain, in the Middle East. And anytime you see these sports kind of transcending into different areas, it's just great for everything. And I think it's just a big growth. Last question for you, and this is more a fanboy question. You can answer it fun if you want, or just totally crap on it. It's up to you. But you grew up in Lethbridge, in the backyard of Calgary. You're a lot younger, so I don't know how much of this really influenced you as a child because it was almost done pretty much by the time you kind of got into your prime years. But in your backyard, you had Stampede Wrestling. Pro wrestling was the big thing in Canada, especially in Alberta with the Hart family and everything like that. Did you ever grow up watching any of that stuff? And if so, go ahead.
I didn't, Mike. No, I never watched wrestling. Never did.
Never interested you, not even a little bit growing up in that area?
You know what? I didn't even know it was
talk about it.
I didn't even know what was going on, Mike, honestly. In my circle, no one really talked about it. I didn't even know what was going on.
You were too busy fishing and farming and hunting and all the other stuff.
Too busy fishing, being outdoors, and playing hockey.
Actually, that kind of takes me one last question. Outdoors, I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna let you finish up this. When you're not fighting, we know you spend a lot of time up in the mountains, doing a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting. What are some of your things to fish for, and what are some of the things that you like to go hunting for?
I don't hunt myself. My family hunts. So they provide me with all the meat. But yeah, I'm a big fisherman. Maybe hunting is something I'll get into. It definitely interests me for sure. I just for some reason I just never dabbled with it. But fishing, yeah, that's my thing. It's definitely a big passion of mine. I like everything, Mike. I love all the species. Fly fishing's my favorite. I like pike. I like trout. Bass when I can fish for them, right? There's not a whole lot of bass around here, but there's a few places. But yeah, trout and pike are the main species. Yeah, I love fly fishing, Mike. It's when I'm not fighting, when I'm not training, it's definitely where I'm at.
Yeah, you can only do that in your part of the world. You did fly fishing down here, you might get bit by an alligator. You might not want to stand too close in the water down in my parts doing the fly fishing. But where I originally come from in the Mid-Atlantic, up in the DC area, it's kind of a big thing, especially with all the Appalachian Mountains and the other areas up there. Bass is a big thing around that area. They call them rockfish up there because the way the rivers kind of wind up into the mountains, that's where you find them a lot. So they call them rockfish. But bass, striped bass in that case, is always kind of funny if you look at different places to what they call it. Like for some reason, it's the same fish, but they'll call it like 85 different things depending where you are. Looking for it. It's kind of funny. Cody, thank you so much for the time. We will look very forward to you making some announcements when it comes time for one. We'll get you back on before your debut to talk about who you're facing and kind of hype that up a little bit. Of course, check out Cody's collection on fightersfirst.shop, the Cody Jerome collection. It's under the kickboxing and Muay Thai collection. I actually put them together because, quite honestly, as a fan, I think if you're a fan of one, you're probably a fan of the other, right? Like they're a very close-knit community. And then MMA is kind of doing its own thing over on the side. Like it kind of just, it's like, even though it's all part of like the total discipline, I hate when people say, I love one or the other. And I'm like, well, all of them are in mixed martial arts, not just one, all of them, especially when it comes to boxing versus MMA. But along with your teammate, Kate, of course, our other guy, Brandon Catino, building a nice collection over there for Fighters First and those collections. And there's going to be more fighters coming as well. So check out that. Check out Cody's collection. Make sure you support the fighter because when you do, half those profits go to them. So, you're definitely supporting the fighter, giving away to give back to those fighters that you love and support. Cody, real quick before we get out of here, how can anybody follow you on social media and everything?
So I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My Instagram handle is Jerome Cody, and then my Facebook and Twitter handles are Cody Jerome.
Awesome. We'll leave the links in the description. Thank you so much, Cody.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
We'll be hearing from you soon. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Unfiltered, and we're out.